Another question from the audience. Kristen, I'm going to ask the question, I'm going to add one little piece to it. So how long did it take to get your business plan started? And then I'll follow up. And how long was it useful? How long did your business run the way you thought?
Are you kidding me? I left the bank and wrote it that night. I needed that money. No, the bank I went to it was 2 hours away. So I literally went right back to Gainesville. And I wrote the business plan. I think it took me about 2 to 3 days. I mean, I had done a lot of the planning in my head. I was just getting it on paper. And then my memory.
And how long did your business
how long was
the
it
way
useful?
You planned?
Yeah, starting the next day, it was taking a different turn. So just real quick, we actually started as green cleaning. And so I incorporated under that name, and I spent the entire loan getting our logo on everything, our spray bottles, our vacuums, all the stuff. Then I got a call from an attorney telling me that name had been trademarked and that I had 48 hours to throw away every single thing with the logo. So basically everything I just spent all that money on. So I had to start over. So yeah, one day.
Let's see. Next question is for Josh. How did you deal with the controversy?
We have plenty of those.
I'll let you pick whichever one you'd like.
I'm assuming that's the lawsuit, or one of the lawsuits, so that's sort of similar to the question you asked before. We dealt with it as we would deal with anything. First off, because it's a lawsuit, we have lawyers who deal with that, thankfully. But I think the main trick to dealing with it was recognizing that business needs to go on. It was tough for us at first because we were very shaken. Everyone in the company, for the most part, is like 25 and under. None of us had dealt with this before. We had a lot of people quit. Financially, it was very troubling. Some of our advertisers started pulling out, so revenue was dipping. And it felt like there was just a dark cloud over the company. And the biggest damage that we suffered wasn't actually the lawsuit itself. It was kind of the shockwave of that impact. It was everyone just stopping and stalling and feeling like it was tough to kind of restart all the things that were making GrooveShark great. And it took us months to shake that off. But as soon as we did, we realized that there wasn't some kind of a magical trick to it. It was just about continuing to focus on what we needed to be doing. And so I know it's a kind of roundabout answer to it, but it's more of recognizing that there are certain things that you'll come across in business that will only serve to distract you if you make those your core focus. And if our core focus as a company is battling lawsuits, then we're not doing something right. So our core focus needs to be making good products, servicing our users, and doing things along those lines.
Great, thanks. Abi, from the audience, how did you get your idea for printing on glass?
Great question. The idea came from our understanding that first and foremost, imagery is probably people's most crucial social asset. People have tens of thousands of images. People take more every day. There are billions stored all over the internet, what we call in your digital shoeboxes. So in past eras, you actually had shoeboxes full of pictures, but now they're all just translated online. And then we thought to ourselves, well, why is no one really printing anymore? And it was because the inefficiency of photo framing is just so pervasive. It's such a time suck and a money drain to print and frame your photos. If any of you guys have actually printed and framed your photos before, it can cost quite a bit of money. And Alex and I, as 25 and under, we didn't have the cash, but we had tons of images that we'd love to print. So we took a look at a traditional photo frame. A traditional photo frame is a piece of photo paper stuck behind a piece of glass and then adorned with the matting and all the other burnishments, and then you put a giant ornate wood or metal frame around it. And we thought to ourselves, well, what if we just eliminated a lot of the moving parts and printed right onto the glass and created this all-in-one product. This product that served as the frame, served as the main subject, and provided people with a service that was a one-stop shop. And it just seemed like the natural progress of things to offer people the next step in the evolution of the photo frame. And that's how we kind of settled on printing on glass for the moment.
Okay, and so this is the last question for all of you. It's a two-part question. What's the best part of being an entrepreneur, and what made you want to be one?
I'm not an entrepreneur, so I'm going to pass.
Well, I think we all know why, the genes, but no, I really, from a young age, I always was interested in business, and I had a lemonade stand, and my sister and I had a little wooden stand where we would sell all of my parents' belongings on the side of the road, and they had no idea, and when they found out, we had to shut it down. I always was interested in business, but I would say the most rewarding part is watching something grow that you really believe in, and it's not like I made it grow, it's my team. But it's just knowing that you believe in something so much and you've put all your energy into this one thing, and now looking back and watching where it was and where it is now, and I'm sure in 4 years I'll look back at where I am now and see the growth. And so it's a really rewarding feeling. And yes, there are very tough days, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
So I want to highlight something that Kristen just said. It's tough for me to answer the question of like, why did I want to be an entrepreneur? I kind of just stumbled into it. And only looking back did I realize that I'm pretty sure I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. And I think it's, the reason I say that is because I really believe it's a personality trait more than anything. And it's something that a lot of people have, many of whom are just working all sorts of jobs and all sorts of professions. Not everybody's running a company. And that's another important thing. You can be an entrepreneur and work for someone. And there are plenty of entrepreneurial people who work at, I'm sure, most of the companies that are represented up here. And those are fantastic people for us to hire. We love hiring entrepreneurs. But I want to pick on Kristen a little bit too, because that story about her lemonade stand and selling stuff on the side of the road, we've had a few conversations about this, and we realized that we both had a lot of weird stuff like that in early childhood. I mean, I was like painting shells as a kid and selling them at gas stations, and selling grapefruit I pull off the tree in front of my dad's shop. And when I look back on that now, it's hard for me to pinpoint why I was doing it, but I just liked it. I liked feeling like I could kind of create value for someone. I think that was sort of what was at the core of it. So I guess if there's any young people in the audience who can do a little bit of self-reflecting after this, and if you look back in your early life and see if you see any of those signs, consider entrepreneurship. It might be the right path for you.
So this is an interesting question for me, and I think I'll represent a different side of the coin as opposed to Christian and Josh, because I've tried to do a lot of self-reflection, and I wish I could find those points where I found those gems of entrepreneurship when I was a kid. But I might be belittling myself, but I don't think I had that many. But I will say that, and as a very, very brief backstory, I was in pre-med. I was on my way to med school all the way up until I started Fracture. So the summer I started Fracture, I basically stopped my applications and my interviews to med school and started Fracture.
How did that conversation with your parents go?
Sorry?
How did that conversation with your parents go?
Not well. It was good that I told my dad that I was starting Fracture when I was in Africa. So I was far, far away. There was nothing he could do, except yell at me through the phone, which wasn't very clear. But the first part of your question, though, was why do I enjoy what I'm doing now? I think it was the same reason why I thought I would enjoy medicine, or I thought I would have enjoyed any other regular job. But for me, it's simply the sheer volume of learning and challenges that I'm presented with on a daily basis. I literally walk out of Fracture every day stunned at the staggering number of lessons I've learned, small and large. It's not as if a textbook was slammed on my head, but it was just simply the lessons about communication, leadership, finances, accounting, all the tangible things to the intangible things, and things like Ken mentioned about learning to love what you do every day, and learning that it's not simply about the end destination but the journey. I learned that repeatedly on a daily basis, and I just don't think I personally would have gotten that anywhere else doing doing something else. So that's my answer to the question. I think becoming an entrepreneur has numerous routes to it. There's never one straight line, and I think you'll get a good cross section of the different paths that a lot of people took to become entrepreneurs, including Don. So it's all very varied based on the individual.